All right. I think we're live, Jonathan. Only took us like 30 minutes to get this ball rolling, but I guess you hear me and I hear you now.
Yeah, dude, everything's grand.
Great. That's the beauty of creating your own podcast to figure shit out as you go.
Exactly, man.
And yeah, I'm glad that you're, as you said, you're pretty zen about it. So, how are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm
Yeah,
having, yeah, I'm having a great day. Just sitting down, talking to you. I mean,
cool.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
How about
and
yourself? How you doing?
I was a little bit stressed about this getting this because of this what happened right now, which was kind of was stressing me a bit, like just getting all the shit together. But
Yeah.
well, here we are, and we figured shit out, and we skipped Zoom, and now we're on Skype. Um, But where are you? Whereabouts are you in the world right now, Jonathan? Tell me about where you are.
I'm in Ireland,
Yeah.
and I'm in the county of Roos Commons or Common. I'm outside of a town called Strokestown. So I'm roughly in the heart of Ireland. So there's a lot of pastures around me and fields, and I'm at a cottage. So currently I'm staying at my buddy Mark and his wife's house, Matilda, and we're doing a work exchange. So I'm tending after their 8 horses, mucking out the stables every day, and in exchange for helping out with the horses and around the house, they're taking care of my room and board.
That sounds awesome. Like I really, because I'm a farmer boy myself, and
Yeah,
it's so grounding to just do that kind of this farmer's work. And I guess like every day when you have mucked the stables and stuff like that, you feel like this sense of maybe just that you have worked with your body today. Isn't that like that's one of the best feelings that I know, right?
yeah. No, dude, it's amazing, and especially because I've been studying and going through How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Chek at the Chek Institute. I've been really thinking about my movements as I'm forking the shit into the
Mm.
wheelbarrow and then taking the wheelbarrow up the giant pile of shit. It's so funny. It's like you take the small pile of shit, put it in the wheelbarrow, and then you put it on the big pile of shit.
It all ends up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting. And how come? Because last time we talked, we had a podcast. You interviewed me for kind of a Facebook Live
mhm.
in I think it was September and October, and you were talking about this circuit of yours that you had coming December.
Yeah.
Uh, could you tell us about that? Tell me about what happened. What was the secret?
Yeah. The secret is called the feeling experiment. And so I had this feeling, and it came to me as like an idea, or kind of percolated to the top. And roughly, what I've done is on December 12th, 2018, uh, I've committed to exploring my interests for a year, and one of the parameters is living outside of the United States. So back up a little bit, I'd been doing high net worth tax accounting for the last 5 years.
Mm.
In a series of decisions and movements that I made in my life. One of which was going to grounding camp, and we met at Grounding Man in 2018.
Yeah.
Um, Led me on a series of decisions, or a series of movements in my life, and that led me to studying holistic lifestyle with Paul Chek and the Chek Institute, becoming a holistic lifestyle coach, and really leaning into the anxiety that I was feeling in my body. And so because of that, it led me again down a series of decisions. It's a series of choices that allowed me to come to a place of where I retired from tax accounting. I was roughly making $100,000 a year, and yeah, in December, I moved to San Francisco, lived in a 30-person co-op in a 4-story Victorian-styled mansion to kind of rattle my cage because I had been living with one person for 4.5 years. And then the next step was flying to Austria, where I became a certified snowboard instructor, which had been a dream of mine for about 10 years. Step after that was going to Switzerland to snowboard at a ski resort, Laux, which has been a ski resort that I've dreamed of snowboarding at for over 10 years. So then I was at Laux and snowboarded, and then I needed to get out of Europe, out of the Schengen zone, because I only have 90 and 180 days. I can only stay there 90 days out of 180. So that led me to coming to Ireland, and I'll be here for 3 more weeks, and I've been here for about 2 so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I really love when people, as yourself, just are willing to explore, and no matter how long they've been in a dead end job, or like the feeling, because we talked about that, I think, with our call, that you felt like that you needed like some kind of renewal. And I'm curious, in every, as I hear this over and over again with several people, and I'm curious, what was the pivotal moment for you to really like, fuck this accounting shit? I'm tired of it. It's not fulfilling.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just like this hardcore moment, because there'd been, like I said earlier, there's this chronic anxiety in my body, and that had been showing up for 4.5, 5 years. And so I systematically started to eliminate variables. There's like the mathematician and retired accountant coming up, like, remove the variables that I think and I'm feeling are causing that dis-ease, stress, that tension in my chest, that anxiety. And so I started removing all the variables that I could think of. Ended a 3-year-long relationship, moved houses, quit a job, started another job in the same industry, and started to pursue things that were meaningful to me. And the last variable was my job. And part of the reason why I was able to do that, or that became more clear to me, was because at Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 2, when I was doing this certification, I had taken a 4D assessment, which stands for your 4 doctors. One of the doctors is Dr. Happiness, and I had scored extremely low. It was my lowest scoring doctor. And so that led me to come up with 3 action items. One was create a map and goals for my future. Number 2 was accomplish dreams and goals that I've already had, 2 of which were the ones that I already described: snowboard instructor, snowboard at Laux. And the third one was pursue a vocation or a career that's meaningful to you. And so then I knew in that moment that I had to leave tax, or I needed to choose to do it. And so I fucking did it.
And I really like the bravery of that, because like so many people are just waiting for someone to kick their ass, and
Right.
And just blaming everybody else for their situation, when we're all, our own blacksmiths of our of our destiny. In a way, we forge it, and we choose how we will forge it. And Paul Chek has been coming up for me so many times this past months, and I'm thinking myself in becoming maybe like do the HLC1, just because like finding out more about myself. And I've been really, I don't know if you've seen it, but he's started to put out a podcast now, and I love what he puts out. It's really like inspiring, and just like hear about like soul work and all of that kind of, that's more in the woo-woo kind of realm, but that just makes sense for me,
Yeah.
And how much has Paul Chek change for you in this
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not Paul Chek, right? Because even what the Czech Institute says, Paul says, is like, here's a guide, like here's information.
Mm.
Don't believe anything that you're reading or what I'm telling you. Go out and apply it yourself and see if
Mm.
it works. And if it doesn't work, let us know. And if it does work, let us know.
Mm.
And so it really comes back to that choice that I'm making, right? Like the same choice you may make in the future to go online and do the holistic lifestyle coach level 1 online or do it in person.
Mm.
Like you make the choice, you put up however many euros it is to take that certification. And then from there, it's like, well, you make the choice to, drink water and follow the holistic lifestyle approach that Paul lays out. I mean, Paul's done the work, him and the Czech Institute. So, I mean, they've obviously been a huge influence on me because it gives you a map. But again, it's up to you to pursue it. So, yeah, at the same time, to give credit and acknowledge Paul Czech and the Czech Institute and all the Czechies who have helped me get here. Like, dude, it's been huge. Like Elliot's holistic lifestyle coach level 3, Elliot Hallsten, and he's an exercise coach.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, it's huge. There's a huge amount there, but at the same time, like not to pull away from myself. It's like, you have to do the work.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, so many people shy away from doing their work and like looking at what they need to apply and just wait and just sit on the edge,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so much easier just to sit back and be complacent.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to do is numb the shitty feelings that you have, which isn't too hard today because alcohol is really affordable, and same thing with shitty food, and drugs are pretty easy to get.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens there is you perpetuate a cycle of dis-ease in your life, and eventually that's going to turn into cancer or some type of illness. So yeah, the hard and the easy thing is looking at yourself in the mirror and taking those steps and being brave and being vulnerable.
Yeah. But do you also think that, because I hear you talking about the relationship that ended and stuff like that, and when stuff like that arise in our lives, it's kind of I see that kind of as if we haven't taken the steps to change ourselves, like things around us will change so that we will change. Have you felt that?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, I went through an example of that recently, where I was forced to change because I was going to Jochberg, Austria to work a job as a snowboard instructor. And then I turned up in Jochberg and I called the ski school owner and he said, I don't have a job for you. And then for a week, I was just in a depression at a house that was dubbed the Chill House. And I was staying in the basement, which was appropriately named the Underground. So I was sleeping in the underground and I was like, what the fuck, dude? And dude, I was riding so fucking high, like snowboard instructor, like my dreams are coming true. Like I, retired, went to a grounding camp in Austin, Texas, like such a high vibes. And then I came to this point and I had to stop. At the same time, I had an eye infection. I had a wicked, like, chest cold, sinus thing happening, and I had developed fungus on my foot, which was showing. So life was telling me, like, hey, you need to slow down. And I was like, no, I'm going to push it.
Yeah.
And then outside of me, it was like, no, you're fucking stopping.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I totally, man.
I totally relate with you at this moment. At that we're doing this, I actually like started to feel like a cold on Thursday, and
Yeah.
I still been going to work and not because I've been needed at work and not probably the best thing should be for me to just lie in bed, and because I know that this might make it worse, and also like staying active and but yeah, whenever we get those kind of things, it's almost like always this lesson for us to slow down. And I know how it is also when I also went out traveling, and you just want to do everything.
Right.
You just want to do everything, experience everything, because you've been like so starved for so long that you
Hmm.
just wanna engorge yourself in all that is. And yeah, sometimes you just have to slow the fuck down. Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. Let's talk a bit. We've mentioned Elliot a few times already, and that's how we met and how we met in grounding camp in June last year, almost a year ago now. It's it's weird.
That's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 months ago. And yeah, how has his work affected you, and when did you discover him?
Yeah, so I discovered Elliot about 4 or 5 years ago when I turned up in the Bay Area to start my job as a high net worth tax accountant. And
Mm.
so I was going through a rough time, again, depressed, alcoholic, because I had lived with my family my whole life in Central California. Moved up to the San Francisco Bay Area. I was by myself and was drinking a lot of alcohol. Like I was
Mm.
drinking half a bottle of vodka a night, just kept it in the
Whoa,
fridge. And I
dude.
knew I had a I knew I had a problem when I had done my expense report. The fact that I was drinking half a bottle wasn't the indication I had a problem. I realized I had the problem when I had been doing a personal expense report. I had calculated that I had spent more money on alcohol that month than I had on food.
Whoa.
So that's when I realized I had a problem. And so
Mm.
I started looking for, role models and mentors. And so one of them, um, yeah, was RSD and
Mm.
Tyler from RSD. And then he had posted a video about the meat orgasm for women, which Elliot had done. And so that turned me on to Elliot, and I started watching all of his stuff, just became immersed in it.
Mm.
And then I met Elliot for the first time January, February of 2017. And again, Elliot has been, he's like the keeper of this information,
Mm.
right? He's like so I don't want to say again that it was all Elliot, but Elliot was like the gateway or the key,
Mm.
because I went to grounding camp in February of 2017, and he showed all of us active meditation and bioenergetics, breath work, body work. And from that point, then I started getting more into to Elliot and doing the breath work and body work. But again, I was the one who turned up, and I was the one who actually started doing the work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to give Elliot the credit is like, yeah, Elliot hosted the workshop, but again, I turned up, and I
Mm.
started doing the work. Um, but that's a pivotal moment for me, because something cracked
Mm.
in me, and I use the analogy that I was a frozen lake, and that first grounding camp was like a giant boulder that fell onto the surface of that lake.
Mm.
It didn't go through the surface, but it cracked the surface,
Mm.
and it started stirring up something deep in the water. So, yeah, Elliot's work in grounding camp has been a huge help, and specifically the bioenergetics
Yeah.
um, and active meditation.
Mm. Yeah. As you say, like it's all up to us. Like in saying that people or mentors have, without them we wouldn't be here. It's like taking away, stripping away power from ourselves, right?
Oh, fuck yeah.
So I totally agree with that, because, but I also feel like I owe like my some of the mentors that I've, in a way, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
as you say, like Elliot is, I see him as like a shaman in a way, and like how he kind of like, without like putting in any psychedelics or anything in the room, he just can, hold down the space and hold the fort, and this kind of repressed male aggressiveness that is so, that you can't like express in a healthy way, in
Mhm.
many ways in society, is he kind of transmutes that and lets people just express and strip away the layers and express all that is inside of you,
Mhm.
in order for you to realize who you really are behind all these bullshit facades that you have put up with yourself in a way.
Yeah.
that's kind of how I view like the grounding camps and the grounding mans, and why it's so, it's like an intoxicating vibe. Like when we're like in, I remember when we did like the 4 songs
The
with
archetypes.
archetypes, like how we in one song just like created like a big mosh pit in the middle and just like went bananas. And for
Yeah.
anyone else like looking in, they were like, this is like a lunatic. This is like an asylum for like just retarded people. But but in that context, it was perfectly normal and perfectly fine, and to exercise that in a safe container, like to hold
Hmm.
down that container creates like a shaman or like someone who knows how to contain stuff.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and they talk about that specifically. I forget. Maybe it's Robert Moore who wrote the book Archetypes of
Hmm.
Initiation.
Hmm.
Um, he talks about it that you have the tribal elders, and those
Hmm.
the elders are like the grandparents, and then you have the tribal leaders, and those are like the parents, and then you have the tribesmen, and those are roughly like the kids. And so it's the responsibility of the leaders, the parents, to go out and teach the kids roughly, and then the grandparents, or excuse me, did I say that wrong? It's the tribal leaders, like the grandparents, who are teaching and really sharing their wisdom with the tribal leaders and the kids. But there is this initiation process which is happening, and roughly it's like, well, not roughly, Elliot is an initiator. He's
Yeah.
initiating men into a space, and again, it has to be set up. And Moore talks about this in Archetypes of Initiation, that it has to be set up properly, because it happens in churches and in concerts. It's like, first you have to have the musicians turn up, but they have to
Mm.
play the music right in order to create that environment. And so it's like Elliot chooses the right place, like he chooses the space, and he chooses the music and orchestrates how we're going to do the act meditation and the bioenergetics throughout the day.
Yeah.
But after that, then he literally steps back, and you see him step back, and
Mm.
then it's like the real energy and the magic is within each of the participants
Mm.
who's turning up in their power,
Mm.
because then that creates a cocoon of energy. But then there's that container that's supporting everything, and so that's what Elliot is doing from my perspective, and I,
Mm.
I feel he would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think
Yeah,
so too. And I also see it as like we were probably 150 men there or something, and it's like
yeah,
it's kind of like I see it as it's just like fire or like electricity. Like
hmm,
it's how we have honed it as a society or civilization is, if we like fire, and if you short circuit with electricity, it it will fuck you up. It will,
yeah,
it will kill you. But as I see also, like I saw like 150 fires, like small contained fires on each yoga mat, like that are,
yeah,
in a safe space. Which, if we hadn't got that space to do that, like that energy could have been like something that you see with, repressed boys. And I just finished
exactly.
the book The Boy Crisis, which Elliot also recommends. That is just incredible how to see, the men that gets like caught up in that goes to jail or abuses women are usually those who can't contain that fire within themselves, and either, as you may have done, you turn to alcohol, you turn that aggression towards yourself, maybe that anger,
Hmm. Yeah, of
or
course.
you externally put that out on friends, family, or women in a way.
Yeah.
And that's something that we really need to attend, and to really learn how to move that energy and not become slaves to it, or so yeah, it's incredible to follow his work. And yeah, he's a trailblazer for sure. And he also brought up astrology in the grounding man, and I'm also into astrology, and I'm also an Aries, and I'm also like this kind of guy that just like I start shit and like just like with this call, I don't know exactly how to set stuff up, and we got like half an hour postponed, but like we got things going. now
Yeah.
now like, and I kind of like do stuff first and think afterwards, and that's kind of a trait that Aries might like have sometimes. But I'm curious when talking about Elliot, what is your view on men today and the overall health of like the subconscious health of men right now in the world?
Mm, I feel it's great. I feel it's exceptional. I feel the energy, the underarching energy in men today is beautiful, and that a lot of men are doing a lot of expansion and ascending, and
Mm.
really coming into their power and exploring what it is for them to be men. Um, so I feel we've seen a lot of women go out and explore themselves, especially in the spiritual conscious communities with red tents, and even here. And what I've been seeing is a lot of people exploring unicorns and fairies, and even being a witch, and just and taking back their power, like
Mm.
these sacred acts, which people were like, oh no, it's a bad thing to be a witch, and it's like, no, it's really not. Like, it's not bad. So there's a lot there, and before I kind of keep on going down that hole is or that path is, for me, when I think about men today, it also brings up women today, and what I notice is there's a lot of duality,
Mm.
and so my intention is on the solution, right? Because the more we look at the duality of men and women, and like how are women turning up, how are men turning up, like what's wrong with men, what's wrong with women, like we add more fuel to the duality between men and women,
Yeah.
and I feel that's a bit short-sighted.
Mm.
So for me, what I feel is a really important question is, how do individuals turn up? Because for me, I have to, like, not to say that I'm beyond duality of men and women, um, but again, I feel it's extremely important for people to do what's right as people, as individuals. And I think there are universal principles or practices that individuals partake in, which are a lot sweeter. I mean, obviously, men have to be men and women have to be women. So
Mm.
that's the first step.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've it's also in the book Void Crisis that I just listened to on Audible. Like whenever one sex wins, the both sex loses. You know, there's
Yeah.
no good or bad sex, and I would say like I totally agree that there's like something happening with men today, but there's also a lot of men that are lost, and why there's what I see a lot in my community is like I see men that are hurting, but they don't want to show it. They're too brave,
Yeah.
and or they're too like they have too much pride, and they think that they're alone with what they're feeling, and that's exactly how I felt for a lot of years,
Mm,
and instead of opening up that kind of opening up that armor that as I feel like as men wear more in a way than women, um, we kind of take that pain with us wherever we go.
hmm
So I think I see it in another way, but I also realize that you have done a lot of work with yourself as well, and I think that what you're seeing is also like a reflection of what you are as well, and that's what you give
mm,
back in the world, maybe. Excuse me. And
hmm
but yeah, I feel like there is a shift coming because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed. I think. But yeah.
Right. So what type of pain? What type of pain do you see within yourself that, or in men?
Mm, I'm just gonna turn off the audio video because I think the audio might be a bit. If you can turn off your video as well, is that okay?
Yeah. Can you
Cool.
hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think the audio will be better because it's been lagging a bit. The pain I've seen myself is probably, I think, what I've been having is like a lot of loneliness, and
Mm-hmm.
felt that I've been really alone with a lot of stuff. Um, when in reality, I think like a lot of men go around and feel that loneliness without expressing it, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I have in my own life hided behind like this facade or this smile that everything is okay. And with that said, with that doing that, that has also stopped me from connecting authentically with other men and sharing that because
Right.
being afraid of showing my true like emotions and my true hurts and pains. And I think that's why a lot of men. I have some men in my community that I know for a fact like that have like gambling issues or like porn issues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have this repressed energy that they like put into other stuff.
Right.
That I think will instant gratification will like if I just win this big lottery ticket win and everything is gonna be all right.
Right.
It's kind of sense of not being okay with what is going on right now in my body or in my situation in life.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think that's what comes up in my mind. Um, and I've been really also like I realized with that loneliness and like feeling a bit bitter when friends haven't connected back to me and when I call them or stuff like that. But I realized the last couple of months that that just might be because they have a hard time reaching out because they are really anxious, and when you are anxious and depressed it becomes even harder to call someone back and talk on the phone for real, and you kind of close yourself off. And I think a lot of men have that, and instead of like addressing that anxiety or that pain or that hurt, they get angry instead.
Right.
That makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And so we kind of walk around with these kind of facades and these kind of shells that are not
Mm-hmm.
us in entirety, and we get angry at our friends instead of I had someone tell me like this week that they declined to go out to eat with a friend at a restaurant because they had like so much anxiety going out even to eat at a restaurant with a lot of people, and because afraid of like vomiting or stuff like that. And instead of saying, "Hey, I got this fear," and this kind of maybe this social anxiety fear to go out amongst people right now, instead of being open with that, they say just decline and cancel the last minute because they get overwhelmed with that feeling and don't want to come clean with that fear.
Right.
And of course you get angry if like someone cancels at you in last minute, of course. So
Right. So it sounds like, is this still happening for you? You still feel lonely today?
um, at times for sure.
Okay.
But when educating myself on books about the topic of why, like, on men's behavior and stuff like that, and it humbles me, and I can understand my brothers in another way.
Right.
And even if they don't verbalize that to me, I can like because I've been going through a lot of turmoil myself throughout the years, so I think I have this like sixth sense of seeing when someone's not okay, but don't want to talk about it. Takes one to know one. um, and um, for myself, also, I feel like I feel less lonely because I feel like I have so many beautiful friends out there. Um, but the last couple of years, I've been also very much traveling and meeting so many people all over the place. So it feels like maybe not having the roots, and that can feel lonely sometimes when you have a lot of friends
Hmm.
on your Instagram or Facebook, but you don't have them, and you can't hug them, and you can't watch them, like see them in the eyes all the time. I think that can
Right.
make me feel lonely sometimes because sometimes what I just need is just human contact, skin to skin contact,
Right.
and with social media, it's kind of like a pacifier, but also
Yeah,
like a
totally.
junk food for social interactions. You kind of get the messages, but you don't get like the oxytocin from hugging someone, or that kind of good hormones and good feelings of just hanging out in the woods with a friend and just like in front of a campfire and just talking shit. You know.
Exactly.
So I think I've been really the last year I've been really diving into being the friend who actually calls someone, because that's like a rare thing today, to like to call someone, to actually call someone instead of just texting someone and just like, hey, what's up, like, and without having an agenda, just like calling out of the blue and just like, hey, how are you, like calling your brothers or calling your friends, and checking in. I think we can forget, we get so caught up in our own lives that we forget to check in with others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I could relate to that because I'll reach out to my homies, and it's challenging because they all have lives and they all have relationships that at the same time that we have a relationship, they're also working on facilitating and growing
Yeah.
relationships with their girlfriends or their wives. And the the statistics on that is, the less we reach out to our friends today, the less likely we are to be friends in the future. So the
Mm.
fact that you're reaching out to your friends today is huge, because
Mm.
that's ensuring that in your future you're gonna have friends and connections, and some of those friends are gonna fall off.
Mm.
Um, However, the true relationships, like there are some mates that I don't see for several months at a time, or even a year or two. However, like when we connect in and we go get some coffee or we go chill and like whatever it is that we we end up doing, like go snowboarding,
Mm.
it's as though we never missed a beat. And so,
Exactly.
and I feel that's the really cool thing, just about having friends and being
Mm.
open in our lives. Um, and dude, I totally commend you for doing the self work and knowing that, hey, there's a part of me that's lonely right now, and like, what
Mm.
do I need? Like, the social media is not going to work. I need skin to skin contact. Like, I need to see somebody in the eyes, because having that awareness in your life gonna support you in those moments where you start feeling like, let's say loneliness is on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, 1 being like the onset or something. So at a low level of loneliness, you could feel that and sense into it because you've been doing the work. And so then that's the indication, like, hey, Robin, right now I'm going to go reach out to my buddies. Like right now I'm going to go give somebody a hug. Right now I'm going to go hang out with somebody and see them in their eyes.
Exactly. Yeah, having that kind of checklist of, have I worked out today? Have I meditated? Have I,
Fuck
had time
yeah.
for myself? Have I been stressed? Have I reached out to someone today? Just me, like just a couple of weeks ago, I went bonkers one night and I realized I don't know why. And then I look, oh, I haven't been out running for like a week almost. And so I went out running. And after that, it was like this kind of everything just like just eased. Really, like
Yeah.
the anxiety that I built up from not exercising just like went away.
Right. And even too, like some of us live in climates that aren't nice year round, especially in like the countries and regions that are higher north or really low south, like you have really long summers and really the days are really long in summer. The days are really short in winter.
Tell me about it. I'm in Sweden.
So, I know, dude, those Norwegian countries. So it's interesting because then in those days, I have a client that I'm working with, and I asked him the other day, I said, "How often are you getting outside?"
Mm.
And he was like, "It's been a few days." I was like, "Mate,
Oh.
I highly invite you to get outside." And there's some resistance, like, "Oh, the weather's not that nice. I don't have some time." I was like, "No, bro. Like, you don't understand. Like, even if it's gray outside, even if it's cold, like if it's cold, the better, because then you actually have to get ready. So you're turning on systems in your body that are going to help support you if you are lonely, if you are sad, if you are depressed." So it's like, even when it's freezing fucking cold outside, it's like, what do you have to do? You have to put on your long pants. You have to put on your short pants. Like, you have to put on all this clothing, your jacket, like wear 3-4 layers, put on your boots, and then you have to step outside. But then what happens is that fucking cold hits you, that rain hits you, that snow hits you, and your body starts firing. It's like, oh shit, I don't have time to worry about depression. I don't have time to worry
Exactly.
about being alone. Like, I need to be warm. And
Yeah.
so you start getting your body active. And so that's a huge thing. And
Yeah.
that's one of the principles of a holistic lifestyle
Mm.
is movement. And so every day bringing in movement into our life is
Mm.
huge. So that goes into what you were saying about running. It's like, oh shit, like I haven't been outside and ran in a week. And then what
Yeah.
happened? You went out and ran and you're like, oh my God, I feel fucking amazing. It's like, yeah,
I,
of
I actually went
course.
out. I actually went out like because I live on a farm now with I actually live with my parents, and
Yeah.
I have like I just have this beautiful forest in my backyard, and so I just went out and like I didn't go hard. I just went out into the forest, me and a headlight, and then like hugged some trees. But actually hugged some trees. It's
Bro,
just
that's so
that was
good.
it's so good. It's so good. I tell you, if you haven't hugged a tree, you're missing out. You're
No,
missing out.
hey, like I know you're fucking joking, but there's real science on it. Trees are highly in tune
Yeah,
creatures, or like beings, so to speak.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and there's like the underarching energy too. My mate was talking to me about one day, if there's a group of trees in a row, or like in a circle together, or just around in a forest, and one tree is not getting enough water, trees
Mhm.
will literally shift their water supply and energy over to that tree to help it grow.
Wow.
And so it's like, yeah, enchanted forest isn't like something for Disney movies. It's a real thing.
Mm.
So, um,
Oh, I hear you. Like for me, God is nature for me. Like God is nature. Like you can see this like how everything works in symbiosis that we have like in a way disconnected ourselves from in this modern day and age with all the gadgets and technology that we have like lost that sense of connection to nature
yeah.
in a lot of ways. But I just want to backpedal a bit because I want to I want to address the thing that you talked about with like friends that you could just like even though you don't talk with them for I just want to honor the friends out there that just like even if you haven't talked to them for ages and you still call them up, there's no like bad vibes or this kind of oh you haven't called me in ages, you're a bad friend, and that's something that I've been really experiencing since and realizing since I started traveling a lot, like
Hmm.
um, how I just because I become that friend that comes and goes sometimes, and trying to just enjoy my friends in my hometown when I'm really there, and trying to be real present and not trying to put away the phone stuff when I'm truly there, and that has also humbled me like with other friends that travel and don't keep in touch, and I realized oh that's exactly what I do when I travel, And have you come across that yourself now when you're traveling? Have you realized that, oh, there's so many friends back in the States that I haven't connected to in a while?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a process for me because I have moved away from my hometown
Mm,
5 years ago, and now I'm traveling internationally. So, um, yeah, I had noticed, like, there were some mates that I had who didn't come up and see me when I lived in San Francisco. It's a 3-hour drive from Central California where I used to live, and um, I had realized that I was reaching out to some of my mates more than they were reaching out to me, or I'd be
mm,
the only one in the relationship reaching out to them. Um, the thing that really kept me going was like not harboring this resentment or animosity
mm,
and just coming from this place of understanding and really seeking to understand their position first. And like one mate specifically, like I really love him. This guy's fucking great. He's been there with me and for me through some of the hardest things that I've gone through. And we've been
mm,
mates for about 10 years. Um, However, now he has kids and a wife. And I'll send him text messages and he doesn't respond. Just
mm,
like no response, or I call him and there's no response back. And the cool thing is whenever I'm in town, for the most part, I give him a call. I shoot him a text. And sometimes I'll be like, yeah, dude, come on over here. If you're in town, let's chill. And
mm,
he's one of those mates that um, I want to keep in my life, and I'm choosing to keep in my life
mm,
because that relationship's so important to me. So for me, the keystone habits there, I keep on reaching out because I love the connection, and to anchor that into a story is when I was 20 years old, um, I buried my best friend because he had a heroin overdose.
mm,
And so a byproduct of that is I realized how important connection is in our lives. So, like, I knew he was going to pass away. His addiction had really gotten a hold of him. And I saw it. And so when I knew that, I made a commitment to do everything I could to support my friend while I could support my friend, because I knew one day I would not be able to. And I knew that day was going to come and happen. And so when that day happened and his mom called me and said, hey, Jordan overdosed, um, I went to the hospital and saw him. And then a couple weeks later, they said his brain hasn't been working and he's just on life support. And we're going to take him off life support. So if you want to say goodbye, come say goodbye. And so when I sat there and I hugged my friend and I held his hand, um, and I kissed him on his cheek and I told him goodbye, I I made him a promise.
mm,
Um, and it was a beautiful evening. Like
mm.
the sun was setting. It was a beautiful night. And I walked out of that hospital knowing that was the last time I was going to see my friend. And um, and I was at ease about that because I had done everything I could. And a couple of years later, after some of that emotion settled down, that's when I realized how important connection is in my life,
Mm,
and how important people are, and the relationships that we have, whether that be with mom and dad or grandma and grandpa or friends or girlfriends or boyfriends. It doesn't matter. Even if you meet one person one time, like, you just love that person as much as you can,
mm.
because they could literally be gone and you won't ever see them again.
Exactly. You never know what impact you might have on just one interaction and where someone's coming from. And
Exactly.
I just it was funny that because I actually listened to our first conversation together, and I actually wrote down, and I was gonna segue into, because I wrote down like heroin overdose, 20 years old, in my I just glanced at my notes and I was like, oh, this he does the segue by himself. How how great, you know? Because I was gonna want to dive into that because that must have been so hard in a way also to lose a friend in such early stage of life. Like you're not even an adult almost, like when you're 20, right?
Right. I mean, certain parts of us are developed, and I feel certain parts of us never are fully developed or are
Mm-hmm.
continuously developing. But yeah, man, that shit was rough.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like what you just talked about, like that lesson of that you did the best that you could in that situation, and that will like hold you free from grief or free from like what ifs or should haves, and to like be here now and just be fully with people. And that is
Yeah,
something
man.
that's really scarce in today's society, to just be with people, because we all always have our devices in front of us and just like me instead of what can I do for you today.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there is a percentage of the population who will just watch their lives scroll by,
Mhm.
um, and will only be able to look at pictures of what has really happened to them,
Yeah.
and that's rough because, again, for me, a principle of my lifestyle is connection, and that's first and foremost the connection that I have with myself. Secondly, it's the connection I share with other people. And lastly, it's the connection that I share with new experiences.
Mm.
And that's where I find meaning in my life. So even for me doing this interview and this podcast, sharing this conversation with you, Robin, is like this is an opportunity for me to connect deeply with myself and share my stories
Mm.
and remember. It's also a way for me to build a connection and share with you and for us to
Mm.
like co-facilitate a conversation. And then lastly, it's like this is a new opportunity and who knows, I'm having a powerful conversation. I feel this is mutual between both of us. And if somebody
Mm.
else was to share in that, then really cool. But it's all a new experience for me to sit here now and have this conversation. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so grateful that you give me the time and space for this, because like that's what I would like. Podcasting have been such a great influence in my life, listening to Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, Lon Reel, all of this great um, have been like my kind of north stars in starting this, and just like realizing, like when I first started doing podcasting, it was actually 2.5 years ago, and I called it biography, because like I really believe that everybody has something worth sharing with their
mm,
story, with their biography, whether they write their story down in a book or not. Everybody, if you just listen closely, like there's a reason why we have two ears and one mouth, and that is because we are meant to listen more than we talk. So, sometimes we just need to shut up and just like invite, create the space like we are doing now. Like I really love that we are diving deep in a long conversation, because how often do you even do that in real life? You know?
yeah.
I'm really grateful to, and that's why I want to do more of this, because like I also see how much I can't, put up a false facade that I can do on, or filter that I can do on Instagram. Like if you just put up one quote or one picture, sure you can do that. But like if I want like the whole spectrum of me, the best way to do that is like through long format podcasting, because then you really get to know me, and I want to get to know people better through this format as well. Like it gives me an opportunity to pick your brain about like what you've been struggling with, or what's been your successes or whatever. So it's just like this kind of cheeky way of of, of connecting more deeply with other people. So yeah,
Yeah.
um,
It's beautiful, man.
yeah, and I had like this kind of I had a long pause doing this, but now I feel like
Hmm.
every time I have conversations with like people like you or someone else doing these kind of podcasts, I realize like how much I miss it. How much I
Yeah.
love just being fully activated and fully like it almost becomes like a meditation, to just like how can I listen as much as possible, and how can I withdraw and give this person as much attention as possible, and also like come with best questions, or the best kind of inputs on what they're saying right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, man. I think it's beautiful what you're doing, and specifically just to support you and have those deep, meaningful conversations that you crave and that you want. I
Yeah.
know the face to face and the eye contact and the touch isn't there. At the same time, it's like our spirits or our souls are connecting and touching
Mm,
and vibing in together, which is really powerful.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it really, it's interesting to see how my energy feels more grounded now. You know, before, trying to get like all the technical shit together, and
Yeah,
I'm no pro with this. I'm just going with the, like, I'm just trying to figure shit out. And almost 1 hour has gone past now, and it feels like it's just been like 20 minutes or something.
yeah, exactly.
um but yeah, um like, Jonathan, what would you say for someone who's like sitting listening to this at their job that they're like maybe a bit sick of, and they probably know that there's stuff out there waiting for them if they just take that first step? What would you say to someone who's listening right now
Hmm.
that is waiting for someone else to make the changes for them?
Well, if you're waiting for someone else to make the changes for you, you're gonna wait a fucking long time, man. Like, um, yeah, I mean, dude, if someone's out there listening, and well, someone is out there listening at their job, and they're questioning themselves and their work and their lifestyle, um, and the perspective that I have for them is just just make the movement. You'll Your body is designed and programmed to release potential as you move forth in the world. And so that potential will only be revealed to you once you make the movement. If you're standing in place, two things are happening. That potential is not being released, it's not being activated. At the same time, your North Star and your dreams are actively moving away from you. And
Mm,
that's because your North Star, your dreams are constantly moving. So as you move forward towards them, it's a point in the sky that keeps on moving. However, as you pursue it, you're getting closer. And if you're standing still, it's actively moving further away. So, and the last thing is, if there is that feeling coming up in you, and you're like, fuck my job, or fuck this relationship, or fuck like my body, or whatever you're saying fuck to, is like, that feeling is coming up for a reason. It's here
yeah.
to guide you and it's here to support you. You may
Mm,
follow that, something good may happen. You may follow that and something bad may happen. Regardless of the outcome and labeling it good or bad, both are there to support you. And
mm,
there's a lesson in both. Sometimes the hardest thing is to find the lesson in the good things that happen to us. It's usually really simple, like congratulations. However, the lesson in the hard times, that's really easy to discover. You just have to you bring your awareness and your attention into the hardships that life is showing you or gifting you, and then through those you grow and you expand, releasing that potential and stepping one step closer to your North Star, to your dreams. And I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we're alive, is to connect and to have as much fun as possible.
wow. I was just sitting. I was just sitting here with the biggest smile on my face, because that just like that was just was very beautiful. I was like, you can put that on like a motivational video.
Yeah, bro.
Those 2 minutes of JPD's wisdom, words of wisdom.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah. Like, pain or suffering is like the best. One of the, like, Elliot also mentioned that in like some of his videos. Like, pain and can be the best like way of showing you that, like, hey, like, someone is poking you, and like, this is how you're supposed to be living. Like, adapt, change, and just move into this pain and see what it wants to tell you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like not being afraid of that fear. Like even we might have joint pains or some other pain, as long as this doesn't like kill you, it will probably make you stronger. And that we need that resistance in order to create that depth in ourselves. I think for sure. Like if I
Yeah,
haven't had the struggles and pitfalls and challenges in my life, I wouldn't be the same grounded, rooted person. You know, that could experience the highs and the lows. You know,
exactly.
so yeah, we went deep.
Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah.
Love this. Because I'm actually I'm thinking this might be a good way to round off. It's getting quite late, and I have actually my friends. I'm actually at my friend's house right now, and they just ordered pizza, and they just like said that time for dinner, Robin. Get some
Yeah.
pizza.
Cool.
So, but once again, I'm really grateful for this conversation, and if someone wants to find you, how do they find you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Um, you could just search JPD Holistic Lifestyle, and that will get you to me on social media: Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, and YouTube. You could also send me an email: jpd.hlc@gmail.com.
Mm, great.
Yeah, and
Any last words before we part that you want to share? You
um,
are in the role now.
yeah, dude. Well, Robin, this one's for you, bro. I'm always here for you, man. If you ever want to have a conversation or connect in, have a question, a comment, or you just want someone to listen to you tell a story, dude.
Yeah.
Like I would love to share a moment with you where you and I could just have a conversation. And even in those dark, long, cold, miserable fucking winter months where you see the sun for like a couple hours a day, like
Yeah.
dude, you always have someone to talk to, and that person's me. So give me a call, give me a shout, dude. Like I said, I'd love to connect with you more often. I'm always here for you, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. This might be something that we might do more of for sure. I also like this podcast also.
Yeah,
Really
of
like
course,
this.
man.
This is cool.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jonathan, and yeah, um, good luck with all your endeavors with cow mucking and whatever
Yeah.
you decide to do next. It's interesting to follow you on the socials.
Yeah. Sweet,
Yeah,
brother. Well,
yeah,
thank you for having me. It's been an honor and a blessing to be able to show up, to turn up, and have this to share in this conversation with you. I really appreciate you for holding the space, and providing the platform for this to happen. So, so thank you.
thank you, man. All right, let's end it here.
Yep. Enjoy